So, Mr. Bottomley, it was a tough 2006 financially. It looks like there's going to be some tough decisions in 2007. Throughout all these financial issues that I'm sure take up a lot of time, how do you focus on student improvement? How do you wade through the money difficulties to get back to students in the classrooms?
Well, that's our primary job. You know, literacy and numeracy has been stressed by the current government, and it's always been dear to any teacher's heart to make sure that the kids can read and write and at least figure out whether they get the right change back. You know, that's our primary job, and I think we're doing okay in that area. You know, we have to prioritize the things that we would cut at, but there are some clouds on the horizon for this, and one component is our special ed area, which is way overspent, and it looks like the province will be cutting back on it. That means
it's overspent province-wide.
Well, ours is overspent by $3 million.
What do you mean by overspent?
Well, okay, there's a complicated formula where you get a certain amount of money based on the need of your students. And we've always spent more than the province said we needed because we find our students need it. And we've done that by transferring some flex money we had that we could spend on anything, which is now gone, and some money from here, which we could spend on end reserves from here, and that's all gone. So we're in some dire circumstances there where we're going to have to look at cutting in that area, which will mean we'll have to cut back on probably EAs and special ed teachers. Hopefully we are going to do it skillfully so it will not hurt the students, but it's scary.
There were some cuts in that area in 06, correct?
Yes, we did not fill 25 positions or 30 positions in EAs who were vacant. We did not fill those.
Okay.
See, the funding has encouraged us to go out and hire these people to help kids, and it's worked well. But now that funding's drying up, so we have these people on staff, and we're not funded for them. So it's going to be a consequential thing for some of our literacy too. But mainstream, we will still stress that our kids have to do better, and we're going to do all we can to help them in that. We have to muster our resources. And I suppose one of the arguments that would say have a bigger school is that you can put all your resources in that school and give a better deal to the kids. I can buy that to a certain extent. There
was an argument a few years ago to have a bigger board.
Yeah.
Which
was going to save money.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
It didn't?
Yes. You got to take this kind of stuff with a grain of salt, I'm sure. I think the bus time is crucial here. We were hoping that the ministry would absolutely say no child should be longer than this on a bus.
Right.
Now they have guidelines, but they're not absolute rules. I think you might argue that some of the schools, we couldn't close some of our extremely isolated schools. It would be just terrible.
Half a day on a bus
or something.
Yes,
and it's just ridiculous. So
the province looks at all this performance of students and improvement of students with EQAO tests.
Yes.
Tell me how near north schools have fared, where you hope they'll go this year.
Well, we generally have improved. And I'm not going to say it's improvement that we couldn't do better in, but generally we're on the upswing on that, and this year was pretty good on that. We have one or two schools that are having some difficulty, and then we will, we're going to put extra emphasis on those schools to see why. Best practices in other schools are being transferred to that. Some of our schools have done amazing well. Some of our high schools have really come up. So we're pleased with that. We can do better, and we're going to try to do better.
Just by passing on the message to teachers, if there's not a lot of money to spend, how do you do better?
Well, as an ex-teacher, I don't think money in the classroom is an issue. Teachers will find a way of delivering what they have to. The more you help them, maybe the easier the job, but I'm confident most of our teachers are excellent teachers, and I think they'll do as well as ever. The problem you get into is when you start talking about cuts and closures and so on. It puts a stress on everybody.
Yes.
And we don't want to distract people from their job.
Another thing that may or may not put a stress on people, but that was an issue in Parry Sound, is the condition of the schools.
Yes.
In Parry Sound, for several months at the beginning of the year, water was coming in through the roof. There was asbestos found in the building. Some people say the track isn't usable behind the school. I know Magwin High School, you're trying to find a way to replace that building.
Yeah.
Ferris Glen, North Bay, I think the theater seats are falling off when you sit in them.
Ferris, yes.
West Ferris.
Yes.
And No Bell School Library, just they lost their books because of water seeping through the walls. And I hate to keep bringing it back to the financial situation, but are these scenarios where a lack of money is really going to hamper students?
Absolutely. You know, for 10 years, we haven't had any money. This year, the government gave us, okay, the province has looked at our schools and said we need $200 million to fix them up. They've given us $20 million over 4 years. What does that tell you? Well, it tells me in 4 years we'll probably still be $200 million because you can't keep these buildings in.
It's patchwork, I
guess.
guess.
Yes, and that's right. Like at the high school here, we put on a new roof. That cost almost $2 million. We did set aside money for the track. We set more money in the track, but every time we go to talk to someone about fixing it, the price keeps going up. And, you know, we really get to the point, well, what's going to happen here? We do have money for that, but it's not enough to fix it. And a track's not something you can do partially.
Yeah,
you can't pay the first 40 meters and then the last 60 the kids trip on. So that's a difficult thing.
We'll be right back. We'll talk about the fact that this board is so big and some people in Parry Sound sometimes feel a little bit disconnected. We'll talk about that in just a moment.